Well, it was fun while it lasted. Am I talking about the 4-year run of good play by the Buffalo Bills? Am I talking about Ken Dorsey as an offensive coordinator? Or am I talking about this season and our hopes for the playoffs? It could be any one of them because last night happened and then this morning happened. I'll get to the game real quick. I talked about yesterday. I thought it was going to be a struggle back and forth, but Buffalo would end up pulling it out, and they didn't. They went out and pretty much had an embarrassment of a game to the point where it was so bad and they were doing things at such a bad pace. It almost reminded me of professional wrestling. I can't tell you how many times a defensive lineman would get a free run on Russell Wilson, but go almost like they want to make it look like they're going to hit him and then go off to the side and let him take off. It almost looked like it was scripted. And I know a lot of people talk about the NFL being scripted, and I think it is to a point where I think the referees are told to do certain things, so narratives are kind of held. I don't think it's scripted to that point. But I watch Josh Allen throw these interceptions sometimes, and I see the look on his face, and I see the look on his face at the press conference, and I think to myself, this guy's either a complete fucking idiot who just doesn't get it, or he looks like he got to the show ready to play football, and then someone sat him down with a script and said, this is how it's going to go, and he just can't tell you. That's honestly how it looks. And I'm not saying that's what it is, and I don't want to be confused with someone who's obsessed with thinking that the NFL is scripted, but when you watch some of the things that happen, it baffles your mind. So Buffalo decides to take the ball they decide to get the ball first, which a lot of people don't like, and I normally don't like to do that, but what they were trying to do is basically go out and establish a tempo and get the upper hand and put Denver, who's not great offensively, put them on their back foot and then just hopefully have the game over by halftime. And what do they do in true Buffalo style? They fumble the ball in the first play. And then in the second drive, Gabe Davis lets a pass go right through his hands and it's intercepted. And then the next drive is a punt. And it just baffles me how it's taken Buffalo fans so long to wake up and finally realize what the problem is. And it continued the whole game. Every quarter, there was just some reason they couldn't just get over the hill to the point where this dude misses a field goal and they had 12 guys on the field. And, the press conference is even more agitating to listen to. They asked Josh Allen, they said, what do you have to do to improve, not fumbling the ball when you hand it off to James Cook? And his answer was, yeah, we got to practice it more. What do you fucking do all week? What do you do all week that you can't simply hand the ball off? Like, I understand if it's my son who plays with a team for 8 weeks and they practice twice a week and some guys miss it. This is your job. You're a professional quarterback. And you can't even feel the snap under center. You can't hand the ball off to your running back without fumbling it. You can't not throw 2 interceptions a game. And it honestly makes me wonder if the team is really that bad or if something else is going on and nobody's figured it out. But par for the course, they went ahead and fired, Ken Dorsey today. Gave him the boot. And this is my take on them firing Ken Dorsey. I was going to do about a 10-minute rant about the game, but the game's been analyzed in and out. This is really why they fired Ken Dorsey. Ever since the first Miami game last season, I have lost all faith in Buffalo. And I've repeatedly said that they are a talented but poorly coached team. And if WebMD had an article about the signs and symptoms of a poorly coached team, it would say a team that turns the ball over, a team that gets a lot of penalties, a team that drops passes, misses tackles, bad play calls, poor execution. And Buffalo fits all of that. you're going to punt the ball to the best punt returner and kick returner in the league. And you're just kick the shit out of bounds. Don't let this dude return the ball 31 yards. But no, we're Buffalo. And we're going to outkick our coverage and let this guy run it back. We're going to drop passes. We're going to have inopportune penalties. Our quarterback is going to throw 2 interceptions. We're going to have our running back fumble the ball on the first play of the game. You've got a lot of things that happened last night that was the culmination of everything wrong with this team that I've been saying is wrong with this team since the first Miami game last year. Everything I said that this team does wrong all came to fruition last night. You could look at other games. You could say, well, Allen had 4 turnovers, but this, and this, and this, and that. Or this team had a lot of penalties, but this, and that. Last night was everything. Last night was like the mask came off, and you finally got to see what this team looks like. And they're a bad team. And asses were going to be held accountable this morning. And it wasn't going to be acceptable to the Bills fans for the assistant wide receivers coach to be fired. They needed a name. And if it wasn't McDermott, it needed to be the next guy, and that's Ken Dorsey. And this is the right choice, but it's not the only one that has to go. Because he's not the only problem, okay? It's not Ken Dorsey's fault that a professional quarterback with 6 years in the league can't field a snap under center. It's not Ken Dorsey's fault that their idiot quarterback refuses to throw to the check down. It's not Ken Dorsey's fault that the offensive line can't go a drive without either getting a false start or a holding penalty. It's not Ken Dorsey's fault that on 3rd and long we're going to call a fucking bomb blitz and get a pass interference call. It's not Ken Dorsey's fault that receivers drop passes. It's not Ken Dorsey's fault that the kicker kicks to the best kick returner in the league, or that when we go down 7-0 and they kick it off to the goal line, our kick returner decides that instead of letting the ball hit the ground and we get it at the 25 and only need to go 40 yards to be put into we only need to go 35 yards to get into field goal position, this idiot wants to take it and run the ball back and get stopped at the 12-yard line. It's not Ken Dorsey's fault that the defense can't seem to stay healthy. It's not Ken Dorsey's fault that we gave up a fucking lead in Kansas City with 13 seconds left because the team makes idiotic decisions. It is Ken Dorsey's fault when the game starts yesterday and the first 5 plays on offense are fucking passing plays. It is Ken Dorsey's fault that when they do start running the ball and have success, they decide to start throwing again. It is Ken Dorsey's fault on 4th and fucking 1, we're going to go out a shotgun and do a fucking drop back and throw a play instead of just use Josh Allen and get your fucking 1 yard. I don't understand how there are so many people in the NFL getting paid so much money and there's so many idiotic decisions being made. Between draft picks, between the way games are handled, it's like, it would be like if the CEO of Amazon or the CEO of Budweiser or Coca-Cola or the CEO of Xfinity, if you went and met them and they're the dumbest fucking person you ever met and they just make a whole bunch of stupid mistakes, and you sit there and wonder, like, how the fuck do you get paid so much to do such a piss poor job? I don't understand it. So Ken Dorsey needed to go, but McDermott needs to go as well, because McDermott is a fucking problem as well. And somebody needs to sit Josh Allen down and tell him that the next time he throws an interception, he better just go to the other team's sideline. Because if he comes back to Buffalo's sideline, he's going to be met with a chair upside his head. Somebody needs to tell Josh Allen the next time you fumble a snap under center, you might as well just go to the airport and head back to your house. Because the next time we huddle up, I'm going to shove my foot so far up your fucking ass that you will never ever get the taste of cleats out of your mouth. But they don't do that. Apparently they don't do that. And I understand that the NFL is not what you see on television with hoopla and yelling and screaming in the locker rooms and all that nonsense. I understand that. But for a head coach who preaches accountability and discipline, this is the least accountable and least disciplined team in the league. The only reason they have 5 wins is talent. They're uber talented, and they get beat by teams who just are coached better than them. They're going to fucking lose to the Jets. Sauce Gardner is going to lock down Stephon Diggs, and Allen is not going to know where to throw the ball. And he's going to stand in the pocket. He's going to get rid of a couple of them in a hurry and throw an interception. He's going to get sacked and he's going to get strip sacked. Not saying he'll lose it, but he's going to get strip sacked once or twice. And the defense is going to only hold off for so long. And the Jets are going to get their second victory over Buffalo this year. And it's going to be a continuous effect of just spiraling down and down and down. And hopefully a lot of people get fired in the offseason. Last night was I don't want to say the epitome, but it was basically the fruition of every single thing wrong with Buffalo coming out at one time. Every single thing wrong with Buffalo came out last night in that game. And Buffalo fans are finally waking up to what I saw a year ago. We scored no points in the first quarter on 3 drives against a team who a month and a half ago gave up 10 touchdowns to a team that 1 week later Buffalo beats by 28 points. And we barely muster 22 points because we can't not turn the ball over or call intelligent fucking plays. So yes, that's the reason they got rid of Ken Dorsey. Was he scapegoated? I'll give that 50% because in reality it should have been McDermott fired and Dorsey. It should have been both of them. They should have pulled a fucking Las Vegas Raiders, fired both of them, and said, Joe Brady, you take charge and somebody figure out this defense. Which next season it'll be Mike Vrabel coaching the defense. But that's why they got rid of Dorsey. It was such an embarrassment last night. On top of the embarrassment last week, scoring 18 points against Cincinnati, who yesterday gave up 190 yards on the ground to the Texans. 190 yards on the ground to the Texans. And we scored 18 points. That's why Ken Dorsey had to go. Because the week before that, I think it was the week before that, all these games are so bad, it might have even been the one before that. They gave up 29 points to Mac fucking Jones. 29 points to Mac fucking Jones. Okay? That's why McDermott needs to go. I understand Ken Dorsey. He should have gone with McDermott. I think that this is one of those moves that satisfies a lot of the Bills fans because it's more than they thought it would be. But to somebody like me who expects accountability, this is not enough. The Raiders fired their head coach and their OC. Buffalo should have done the same thing. And it's not going to get easier. You have 2 barely winnable games against the Jets and the Patriots, and you have 5 games against teams that are going to be out to get your ass. Except for the last game against Miami, because Miami will have already clinched the division and won't need to be playing for anything. So that could be a victory there. And in true Buffalo fashion, they'll go out and put up 45 points against the practice squad of Miami and then move 11 draft spaces up. Meaning further away from the number 1. Not 11 closer to the number 1 pick. Because that's what Buffalo does. That's why people like me will be eternally disappointed in what goes on. So Ken Dorsey, it was fun while it lasted. This window of the Buffalo Bills winning the AFC East was fun while it lasted. This season was not that fun because I knew what was going to happen. And I don't like to be right. I just always seem to be. And I knew from the first game against Miami last season that Buffalo was a joke of a team, not to be taken seriously, and that wasn't going anywhere. The other person not going anywhere is me. I will continue to do these videos about Buffalo, about Tennessee, and other important things, plus the UFC. So buckle up, motherfuckers. This ride just got started. And I don't give a fuck if it's just me on it. We're going to go fast and we're going to go loud. Until then, you stay frosty, bitches.